Yo, guys, what is up? And welcome back to another episode of the Game 6 Clay podcast. It's your boy Gautam, my boys Matt and Chuck. And this is our second All-Star Break edition episode on the eve of the Warriors restarting their season, sitting at 29-29. And the stretch run is here, guys. This is the one we've talked about. This is kind of what this season's been getting towards. This All-Star break was the last kind of caveat before we get into the real hoops. But as always, before we get into it, gentlemen, how are we doing today, brothers?
We're doing good. We're doing great. Just chilling here out in snowy old Denver. Uh,
Home of the number one
just
seed.
life, baby. Yeah, home of the one seed.
Home of the one seed.
How
Matt?
you doing, Matt?
It's snowing there, Chuck?
Oh yeah,
It's February, isn't it?
it is.
That makes sense. Okay, no, man. We had some cold winds today in Phoenix, man. I'm not gonna lie. I had a crew neck and a Sherpa jacket on. So um
Ooh.
yeah, life is tough out here. No, things are good, man. I'm nervous and excited for the season to restart and excited to into it with you guys.
Let's do it, man. It was windy out here in the Bay Area as well. Not snowing, but good news today, man. Steph Curry reevaluated, or will be reevaluated in 1 week. So it looks like Steph's on his way, on the mend. Monty Poole came out in 95.7, said that there is probably mid-March, so about 2 more weeks till Steph's fully cleared to play. That's exactly the kind of news you kind of wanted to hear going into obviously this stretch run. The Warriors got the Lakers, and then I think it's 5 straight home games during this without Steph, maybe a little bit longer than that, but this initial kind of part of this last 24. So just talk me through, just to start off there, man, just your thoughts on Steph's injury, the rehab. How badly are we going to obviously need to hold down the fort, but just having this new timeline of 2 more weeks at the minimum, hopefully, for Steph to be back. Just what's your excitement, your concern for the team to be able to hold it down again while Steph is out?
Yeah, well, it sounds like he's going to beat the original timeline, or at least has a chance to beat it, and that's huge. When every single game's going to count, you need your star players back. You need them healthy. More importantly, the distance that I mean, we got what, 24 games left. The more distance he can get between his return and the playoffs is great because you want him getting his legs up, get like feeling in rhythm because we've seen guys this season, struggle to come back from injury. And Steph's usually not one of those guys, but who knows? So like, the earlier he can get back, then the sooner they can get into rhythm, start winning some games, and try to put together a healthy roster down for the postseason. Because every single game he can come back for is going to be massive.
Big time, Matt. Mr. Pessimist, let's get in. I know Matt's still a little nervous about this report. Come on, Matt, talk to
Yeah,
us, brother.
used a couple words. Used excitement and concern. You guys can assume I am leaning towards and bathing in the latter. You know, you guys are saying, I know it says reevaluated next week. I know when I hear reevaluation, that doesn't tell me a whole lot about a whole lot. I usually just think that means they'll tell us it'll be another week or you'll really be really evaluated afterwards. I think Kerr on the radio today said 7 to 10 games, maybe even more than the 10. That might have been in reference to GP2. Maybe I missed something there, but I think he was talking about Steph there. So that's just a long time, man. I don't know. It's we mentioned it. This is all Western Conference teams going forward, pretty much. I think they have 2 games against the East. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's the Sixers and the Bucks. And that's a great opportunity, but it's also just a great. There's a lot of potential to fall down in the standings. Wiggins is still out. Thinking about that guy, obviously we have not a lot of info on what's going on, and probably deservedly so, considering it's family stuff. But I hope he's okay. But they're down 2 starters. Steph, I'm gonna probably go with that Kerr timeline until I hear otherwise. 7 to 10 games. Just spooky stuff for the Warriors. 7 games puts him at March 5th against the Lakers. Trying to look at 10 games real quick. That'll put him at the Bucks game on March 11th. That's my cousin's wedding, so I will be phone fully charged, sitting under the table for sure. 7 or 8 drinks deep. Who knows what will happen after that? But anyway, So yeah, I'm not feeling too good about this, guys. It's a tough schedule, and not just because it's they're shorthanded. It's the Western Conference. The West got better. We're going to talk about that in a bit, but I don't know. I told you guys in a text the other day when I was having a moment of despondency that that I think this team's going to miss the playoffs. I'll get to that. We'll get to that in predictions later on, but they need a lot to go right for this the season to end where we want it to. So I'm nervous, guys. I'm nervous, but talk me out of it, please.
Yeah, as much as I'd wish to, make you not as nervous as you are right now. Hopefully I do, but I am also a little nervous, and that is not par for the course with your boy. Just the whole time I know when Steph went out and we said, you just got to hold it down. We made the trade for GP, and obviously we knew what happened there. So it just feels like a lot of stuff has not gone our way this season. And that's just been the story of the season. The Warriors are sitting square at 29-29. They're right there. I'm not nervous in terms of a games back or games whatever. It's more so we haven't really seen it yet. We haven't seen the consistent play without Steph to kind of hold it down. That being said, even with Steph, I feel like we haven't seen that consistency from this team. And it's not saying that they can't change. I think that we're gonna get into what we think needs to happen for this team to obviously string together some wins, but it's a lot to ask for these guys to hold down a majority of the season. I think Steph missed how many other games it was in the shoulder, and then he came back, and again they were still kind of hovering, goes down again, and now obviously with the All-Star break, you hope you get some refreshed legs. It's going to be a lot on Jordan Poole, Clay, Draymond, Loon, the guys who've carried you this far into the season and have you in the situation where you're at. So my nervousness is really just I hope that the breaks don't fall off too early. For these guys that have obviously done a lot, just minutes wise, we talk about Draymond and Looney, the lack of the front court depth. It's really 7-8 guys that are holding this down, and I just don't know I got to see it to believe it, to be honest. But having, I will say, if with that 7 to 10 game timeline, five of those are at home. I know you got some tough matches, but you got the Rockets in there. You got who else is in there? You got the Rockets. You got the
Can I ask you real quick?
Lakers twice.
Lakers
with,
twice.
With this team, on a scale of 1 to 10, again, they should beat the Rockets in a playoff series right now, even without Steph. You bet on the Warriors in a 1-game middle of the regular season, but we've seen team. I just want to know how confident you guys feel. 1 to 10
to beat the Rockets.
To beat the Rockets.
Oh, come on, bro! I'll give it 8.5. We at home. But again, the fact that it's not a 10 is a little. It is what it is. But it's been the story, man. We saw this team have that 5-game winning streak in that homestand, and then drop the next 3 against teams they should have beat. So it's really just about can they lock in. They've played without Steph. They know how to win without Steph. We know who has to step up to win without Steph. And you're right there. The end's in sight. That's the only saving grace I have for these guys. It's not, is Steph coming back a month from now? Is Steph coming back 6 weeks? You got 2 weeks. Can you hold it down for 2 weeks? You got 7 games in there. Just pick up as many wins as you can. You're at home. So honestly, I've kind of talked myself a little off the nervous stage, but it is there. The concern is more so just can they get to the finish line without Steph, with Steph's injury, in a place where, like Chuck said, once Steph comes back, I have full confidence in this team to be able to string together a run. I think we've all said it. We've seen it 3, 4, 5 times this season where, they seem like they're going to turn the corner and somebody goes down. Hopefully Wiggins, prayers out to his family. Hopefully everything's all right. But the quicker you can get him back, the quicker you get Steph back, and then obviously GP, hopefully for the last 10 something games. So the formula's there. It's just, can they execute? That's been the thing for the entire season. So it's a wait and see kind of thing. But tomorrow against the Lakers is going to be a good test, great test against I don't want to say loaded, but a well shaped Lakers team.
Yeah, I like the point you made too on, Steph hopefully having his timeline shortened will definitely instill some confidence in the other guys. Because when you look at the games coming up, I mean, Portland right now, they've been fading, but they're still up, a game off the Warriors. They're going to play the Lakers, who are 2.5 back. They're going to play the Wolves, who are a half game ahead. I mean, the Rockets are the Rockets. but then you got LA, they're 2.5 games ahead. New Orleans, they've been slipping, but they're a half game ahead. Oklahoma City, half game behind. Like all of these count, man. Like all of these are
And
going to be huge.
and it's
So
it's
any extra confidence you can give these guys to really step up and perform, because if you have Steph out, if you have Wiggins out, it's going to be tough sledding. So confidence is a must. Like you can't get down early and just start to sell these games, because it's a lesser team like without Steph would choke away all of these games and then be 5 or 6 games under 500 by the time he gets back, and then the season's over. But I think from what we've seen out of this team, like they're going to fight, they're going to hover around 500 and give themselves a chance.
and that's the beauty of like the way the Western Conference is shaped up right now. Like if you can win two in a row, like I feel like a lot of these games are going to count for two. Like it's a loss against the other team and it's a win for you. So just the momentum you're going to be able to build. If you can, in that homestand, you take the first two. Now you've got confidence. You've knocked down two Western opponents, and just each game is going to be, it's been like that all season. Obviously, it's a 500 team. Every win, every loss is up and down. But if you're able to just string together 1 to 2 good games back to back, just you got to take a game at a time. But the confidence, like you said, the confidence boost you're going to get by knocking down an opponent, jumping them in the standings. Like if it's a 7 to 10. Like if we're using that 7 to 10 game thing, I want to say 8 of those are probably one of those like 2 times games. Those like key game multipliers you get in 2K. That's every single one of these games right now. Like it's worth 2 in right now. So you get a win streak or a couple wins is going to do a whole lot for your confidence. That being, but a couple losses on the same thing is going to set you back twice. So it's a very, very precarious time, but that's the predicament the Warriors find themselves in. That they didn't take care of business during the season, we talked about it all the time, just dropping all these games. But you are where you are right now. Like you have 24 games. You're not even close to being out of it. So it's really just about can the defending champs figure this out without their superstar?
So
Yeah.
with that in mind, oh, sorry, go ahead, Matt.
No, go. I'm like poison in the form of a bad teacher. You know what I mean? That's me right now. So I just the margin for error is just so thin right now. It's so thin, and one guy in that top 8 goes out. It feels like this all crumbles. Guys, I'm going to need you throughout the next 20, 30 minutes to really just get me out of this deep, dark hole I'm in, man.
Lock in,
Like,
Chuck.
I'm not feeling confident about our Warriors, even just minus Wiggins, minus Steph. TBD, I might in 10 minutes. You guys know me. 10 minutes from now, I might be saying 50 or 54 and 28, so we'll see what happens.
So
actually have
go back
29
again.
losses.
Yeah, they'll win back. It's okay.
let's look at like for the rest of the season right now. So 24 games left. Let's assume you're not going to have Steph and GP. Well, you're probably not going to have Steph for at least the next 6, 7 games. You're not going to have GP for the next 10 at least. 24 games out. Like, how do we feel about it? What's the record prediction looking like for those last 24? What you got, Gotham?
Look, I'm never gonna bet against this team even without Steph. So I genuinely think my gut was that they'd go 17-7, and this was before the Wiggs situation. I thought Wiggins was playing really well in that Washington game. We missed him in that Clippers series, and the team is continually gotten, like, they've gotten better in terms of like the way they're executing, the way they're playing. I think that just the last part is defense, but the offensive, the way they're executing on offense, they're putting up points. It's not that they're not shy of scorers and people that can fill up the stat sheet. It's just doing it on a consistent basis. And I genuinely think you got 9 days off. None of these guys were part of All-Star break. Obviously Draymond with the on the sideline, but just playing, you had 9 days to truly just decompress, get out. They've been down in LA for a couple of days now, just practicing whatever it was. So I genuinely think that this team has they knew that like the All-Star break was something they were looking forward to, and just in terms of being able to start closing some of these games, playing better on the defensive end. It's going to be a collective effort, especially with, like you guys said, man, without Steph, without Wiggins, without GP. That's two of your three best defenders in Wiggins and GP. So it's going to be a collective effort on the defensive end. But they've got guys, they've got Draymond, they've got Looney, they got Dante, Kuminga. I'd love to see a lot more Kuminga in this next stretch. But we've seen this team find ways to win, and that's one thing that this team has picked up this season, if they haven't had it already. Playing without Steph and Wiggins for such long stretches is, they're not, like you said, Chuck, earlier, they're not going to go down without a fight. So I have no doubt that they have the ability to hold down the fort. Playing at home, especially for the initial part, without Steph and Wiggins, is going to be huge. Just to have that comfort of, they're a good home team. We've seen it all season. So my real concern is when Steph comes back, they have, I think, 10 games, 8 of those or 9 of those are on the road or something like that. I don't know what the breakdown is, but it's a massive like road patch in there. So it's can they take care of business on the road? And just with the amount of games that they've lost on the road, I feel like 6 or 7 of them have been just punted away. So it's just about cleaning up the small things. Can you execute down the stretch? And look, guys, 6 or whatever. How many of these guys were on the team to win the championship last year? You're minus Steph and Wiggins, obviously, but the rest of those guys, they've been there. They were part of that championship run. Kuminga, Dante's been a champion. Obviously, you got Clay, Draymond, Looney. So you've got guys you can lean on. So I'm gonna stick with 17-7. I think they do go on a run. That's the optimist in me. But if they can come out of this non-Steph or without Steph part with a winning record, sky's the limit. I don't see why they can't string together some few good weeks of basketball.
Yeah, so that's the interesting thing on the schedule too. Just to follow up on what you said, they got that game in LA tonight. Probably when people will be listening to this tomorrow. Then you got 5 straight at home, 3 on the road, 2 at home, 6 on the road, and then a 4-game homestand to close the season. But assuming, well, like let's just assume that Steph and GP are both back in the lineup against Milwaukee on the 11th. You got 6 at home, you got 6 on the road. The road games too, you got, Dallas is tough, Memphis is tough, Clippers are tough, but Clippers and Dallas, those are very important games. And Atlanta is really struggling. And Dallas, and Houston, they get to play Houston again. We love to see that. They got a couple important games against the Pelicans too. The Pelicans, since the injuries hit, have really just been, which sucks because I love watching that team play, but they just can't get healthy. So I think the good thing is that like a lot of their more winnable games are on the road, so it at least helps sort of instill some confidence there, and then they got some like tougher games at home where they've played so well. I think injuries aside, like this team still has it in to win, especially with Clay stepping up. Since Steph went down, 24 points a game. He's hucking 12 threes a game and making 42% of them.
Baby.
Like
Keep shooting.
that's our guy, baby. That's our namesake. I'm gonna go with 14-10, a little more conservative than Gautam. I think 43-39. Like all things considered, like if you end up 4 games over 500 at the end of the season, considering all the shit that they've been through, from injuries to random absences, players just struggling to get on the court, rookies, the young guys struggling, weird trade shenanigans with Portland. They get a couple games against Portland down the stretch too, I believe. So, well, actually, just the one, which we'll get to soon. But I imagine they'll get up for those games a bit. They'll be excited to exact a little revenge. But yeah, I think 14-10 is reasonable. And considering the state of the standings, like there's so many teams just hovering right about 500. Like the Timberwolves have kind of been around there all season. I don't trust the Thunder to get up above it. The Jazz are fading. The Blazers are fading. Lakers have a good roster, but they're 5 games under, and that's a really tough proposition to get out of. So, and yeah, like, New Orleans right ahead of them. They've just been they've just been falling. I would not be surprised
Another
if
team
they.
that has been falling are the Kings. I know they're at the 3 seed, but they've been kind of hitting a rough patch. So the path to the top six isn't like it's obviously it depends on how the Warriors play and everything, but it's a lot of other stuff that was going to happen too. There's going to be teams dropping, rising. So if you can stay in that mix, which where they've been all season, to be honest. So it's just about getting a little bit ahead. So I'm with each other. I think 14-10 is a very very prudent prediction, but fuck that 17-7.
Yeah, and it doesn't sound like much, but right now you're one game out of the sixth seed, and you're also one game from being completely out of the playoffs. So if they can pull off like an above 500 record, I think they could probably squeak in. If not, if they end up as like the seven seed in the play in, I know how well that went before, but this team is much better conditioned to win at least one of those two games and secure themselves a series. Uh, I'd feel pretty good about that. Like, I feel good about their chances of not only getting into the playoffs, but getting themselves into a decent position where you don't have to go face the Nuggets round one and, deal with altitude and the team being fresh. Get yourself a matchup with the Kings or maybe even Memphis again,
Memphis,
baby.
baby, give me Memphis.
Mm. What
All
you
right, Matt.
got, Matt?
All right,
First of
Matt.
all, yeah, I like that. I like that we've all kind of come to the conclusion that a series with Memphis is desired at this point. That's fantastic because fuck those guys. But here's where I'm at, right? Listen, this team is desperate, but they're playing a lot of desperate teams for the last 24 games. And most of the teams they're playing that are desperate, most of them, not all of them, are either whole or they're becoming more whole than the Warriors are and are getting closer to being healthy than the Warriors are right now. I can't say enough. It won't surprise me if GP2 gets back with like 8 games left. I won't be astonished if the Warriors go like 7-1 in those games. Like I think he's that important to what they need right now, and I think he's so integral to what they need. But with that being said, the reporting on GP2 coming back has been pretty sketchy. Not in that like it's a season long or playoff denying injury, but I think it's just really up in the air. And so just listen, they had 12 home games left. They have 12 road games left. We know what the records are in both directions. We know what they are now. They're a 500 team. Part of my glass half empty gut wants to say 10-14. The more optimistic part of me wants to say 12-12, which is not that optimistic. Vegas has it at 42.5. Chuck, you saying 43 was encouraging to me. I can't. I mean, I'm not gonna. 42 seems right to me. So I think 13-11. Just again, I think they could go on a tiny run when Steph gets back. I just think it's really hard for a team that hasn't been whole in that. Honestly, it's pretty impressive they've maintained a 500 record without Steph. Like I think that can't be said enough. Like that's really hard to do. That's not a thing they would have been able to do in previous seasons. They're really bad when Steph plays, and that means credit to Jordan Poole, credit to Draymond Green, especially the fact that they have been able to maintain 500. And you hope that the fresh legs from the All-Star break really help. But I just think it takes a lot to do that, and I think that again, continuing to do that against desperate teams has just not been this team this year's strongest suit. So it's for me, it's all about when Steph and GP get back. I'm going to lean on the longer side for Steph, which is 10 games or so. I'm going to lean on the reporting saying hopefully for the playoffs or hopefully before the playoffs for GP2, meaning probably slightly before the playoffs or probably right around the playoffs. So yeah, I'm going to go 13-11. It could go either way. I think back to the 2020-2021 season when the Warriors finished 15-5, and people forget that season, even though they were a playing team. I think they started as a 7 seed. They were 6 games above 500. They were 39-33, which I think would have, I've done the math here before. I think they have 45, 46 win pace for a team that's not nearly as talented as this one is this year. Just kind of astonishing stuff. And also, I'm just saying, side note, if they got to come up with some, there has to be some kind of barrier in how many games you've won and how far you are ahead if you're a 7 or 8 seed. Because if you're 8 games ahead of the 7 seed or 9 games ahead of the 7 seed, which was how the Warriors were that year, you shouldn't be playing for your playoff life. I don't think. But here we are. Again, I'm saying 13-11. I've explained why. With that being said, guys, let's say best case scenario, Warriors break into that top 6, what has to happen?
A lot more Jonathan Kuminga, especially if Wiggins is out for however long. I think getting Wiggins back is going to be huge. But it starts on the defense. I think everybody knows, everybody's seen it, heard it. The defensive rating for this team, just the defense that they've been playing, it's non-existent. Draymond said it after that Clippers game that it's going to take the entire team, and it's been weird. I mean, we said it on the last pod. I mean, for the most part, obviously losing GP and Kuminga taking the step. Like, it's not like this team is short of defenders. Like, I think they have a solid 4 or 5 guys you can really trust on the defensive end. I think Jordan Poole has made some strides. Chuck, I know you kind of covered that in one of our previous episodes, just the on-ball stuff and the off-ball stuff. I think Clay just off ball has been a little off, no pun intended, but I think on ball he's been decent. So I think it's all, like, for the Warriors right now, it feels like it's just tying together all these loose ends. The lack of execution down the stretch, the not able to get consistent stops, forced turnovers, get on transition. It's not something that, in years past, they've kind of just done this as kind of part and parcel of what they do. So it's going to take an extra effort, but like, that's why I'm so optimistic about 17-7. Like you said, 12 road games, 12 home games. That's 9-3 at home and 8-4 in a favorable road setting. It's not crazy. Like, it's not and it's weird because I feel like obviously the Warriors are sitting at 500 right now, and it's easy to see the standings and no Steph and whatever. But this team has put together stretches of playing well. Like, they've done it. I feel like just watching every game this season, it feels like they've improved from where they were, beginning of the year, middle, whatever, December time, and that homestand without Steph really started. And once Steph came back the first time, it seemed like they were ready to kind of go on a run, and everything was starting to come together. So it's just about just tying up those loose ends. It starts on the defensive end. So I think that means a lot more Kuminga. I want to see some Patrick Baldwin. The coaching staff has to get creative with these roster spots. It's been no secret that obviously the roster construction, whatever it is, I would like to see him get a buyout guy. Stanley Johnson. I know that just that defensive presence would be kind of a good injection into the team, but I'm not putting any faith in the Warriors making any buyout moves. So you got to get creative with the guys that you do have on the roster. So I think a guy like Patrick Baldwin, he's a 6'10" dude who can shoot. We've seen the shooting's real. Not as bad of a defender as we thought. So you gotta get creative with every single roster spot has to be able to contribute something. Jermichael Green has stepped up, so it's not as crazy as it sounds about the Warriors figuring this thing out. It's harder without Steph and Wiggins, but it's been done, and this team can do it. So I'm not saying that there's a lot that they've got to do. It's just you got to clean up the small stuff and execute down the stretch. And if they can do that, there's really no reason why they should be very much in the playoff picture by the end of the year.
Yeah, I think the buyout thing is interesting too, because it feels more and more like, if they didn't make their move already, it's probably not going to be made.
Yeah.
But there is some, like, especially in the short term, if they had a guy on like a 10-day deal, especially a guy like Stanley Johnson, who is one heck of a defender.
Mm-hmm.
He's figured out a bit more things offensively recently. Shout out to the Dunker Spot pod, because Nikias and Steve really broke down how, like, he deserves a chance, and so many teams have kind of brought him in and he's improved, and then they still cut him loose. So, if he's a good playable body you can bring in the short term, that's great. Because when we're looking at the next few games, just off tomorrow, Iggy, DNP, old, Gary Payton, trade shenanigans, still going to be out. Wiggins, personal reasons. Again, hope everything's okay with him. And he'll be in all of our thoughts. And then obviously Steph, Ryan Rollins too. Not that he's playing anyways, but you got 9 available players before you get to the two-way guys. And Lamb only has 7 games left. So assuming that they're going to want to play him, I know, like, lovely. But I'm very happy about that. Ty Jerome, he's got 14, so I think that's okay. You can play him for more than half of the games left over, but they're going to be more careful about how they use Lamb. And I think that's even more incentive just to give Patrick Baldwin Jr. some run because you're going to need scoring and rebounding against this LA team. You're going to need floor spacing, and he'll bring that for sure. So yeah, like looking at these next four, we're going on the road to LA, then back home for Houston, Minnesota, Portland. How do we feel about these four? What
So
do
I
you
want
think,
to
Matt?
add real
We'll
quick.
go bad news first.
Yeah, but shit, man. That's all I got for you. So I want to backtrack. I like what Gautam said about Kuminga getting more minutes. I just my need for what needs to happen for the Warriors to do this. I mean, first of all, they gotta close games better. They gotta be better on defense straight up. They gotta be just a smarter basketball team than they've been all year. They can. We've seen it in the last 2 years. We haven't seen it this year. But kind of tied to that, I want to see. Listen, also, I'm gonna be very clear. I'm not going to criticize Steve Kerr's like X's and O's coaching. I've got no grounds to do that. But I want to see Kerr kind of roll with the guys who are playing well in a game. I also want to see him. Funny enough, we're talking about defense. I'd kind of like to see him close games, kind of heavier defensive lineups than offensive lineups for the next little bit. Just while Jordan Poole is their primary offensive creator, I'd love to see him close with Dante, Clay, Wiggins, Kuminga, Draymond, or Clay's not. Chuck, you said it last week, right? If Clay doesn't have it rolling, go with Kuminga over him, go with DiVincenzo over him. It's fine. Again, Clay's been fantastic of late. I don't want to say he's not the focus of what I'm trying to say right now. I'm just trying to say roll with the guys who are good in the night and not the guys that, politically speaking, should be in the game. Because I think rolling with guys like Kuminga at the end, it's not just potentially really helpful now. That's somebody in the playoffs who gets the free throw line. That's somebody in the playoffs who attacks the basket. That's somebody in the playoffs who not only can, but enjoys attacking mismatches in the post, right? So rolling with more Kuminga throughout the game, at the end of a game, rolling with guys who have it going, trusting maybe DiVincenzo a little more with the ball at the end of a game than the seventh man, Jordan Poole. Just kidding. Love Jordan Poole. But that's probably all I would say. But Chuck, you asked for the next few games how I feel about those. Well, again, I asked you guys earlier how confident you feel about the Warriors beating the Rockets. I'm not even there. I'm sorry, man. I don't look at that game as a must win. I look at that game as a glass of whiskey on the rocks to get me through the fourth quarter, man. That's how I see that one. Okay. So I just want to be, if they win, I'll be thrilled. My confidence in them winning that game is at best a 5, at worst a 3. I just don't know. Let's see, 4 games. That puts us at the puts us at Blazers next Tuesday. If they go 2-2, I'm not gonna lie, I'll be ecstatic. I think that's fine, right? Again, I cannot say enough. This team being a 500 ball club without Steph Curry, when previously they have been an absolute circus in those spans, is impressive. So I'm gonna say 2-2. That's me being, I'm at what feels like a naively optimistic, to be honest. So I'm rolling with 2-2. But Chuck, what do you think?
Well, hey, I'm right there with you. Way I look at it is, if these teams were healthy, I still think they're better. Like if the Warriors are healthy, I think they're better than all these 4 teams, but they're not. They will be underdogs at LA, and they should be underdogs against Minnesota. I get the feeling that they're going to win one of those they shouldn't and lose one of those that they should. And with the other 2, I mean, you should beat Houston. With the way Portland's shaping up, even though Damian Lillard's playing super well, they traded away a bunch of guys. They're not going to be forcing GP2 out there anymore. Anthony Simons is a little banged up. They don't have Josh Hart. So you should be able to win both of those games. And as we know with this Warriors team this year, should does not equal do. So I still think 2-2. I think they're going to win a game they shouldn't and lose a game they shouldn't, find themselves back at 500 after those 4.
I'm going 3-1, man, as I should. No, I genuinely believe that this team is gonna finally turn a corner. I don't want to understate how important this All-Star break was. Just getting some time off. A lot of these guys, like you said, man, holding down the floor without Steph and Wiggins is hard. And to be a 500 ball club, to get to that finish line at 500, Just I feel like the team will come out re-energized. I don't know which one they'll lose. I'm kind of leaning towards the LA game, to be honest. But those three home games, Houston, Minnesota, and Portland, like there's that Minnesota game, the Warriors tripped away on the road. Portland too, they couldn't execute down the stretch, beat Portland at home. And Houston, like look, I'm sorry, my confidence is at like an 8 to win that one at least. So I mean I think it is time. Like if there's ever a time for this team to turn a corner and figure this shit out, it's now. So if they don't go 3-1, again, like you just want to buy as much grace period as you can with Steph out, and for these first four games to be the way they are, you got three at home. An LA team that again has also been up and down. Granted, they have a completely new roster, very very well built team, to be honest. Like that Lakers squad is no joke. But again, like if they can come out and beat that LA team, that puts them whatever 6 games under the 10th seed or whatever, or whatever I don't know what the standings are right now. But the LA, so you can really like knock out LA. They dropped that game at home against that very same LA team, and it was close. It was a close one. So I'm not, 3-1, but it's more so just because I believe this team is gonna turn that corner. It's just on the edges, and they've had 9 days to figure it out. So if there's ever a time for this team to become that playoff championship team that we know they are, it's gonna come down to how this stretch starts, and I think they get off to a good start.
So
Yeah, and
go ahead, Chuck.
Yeah, with LA, just on the standings, they're 2 games back at the 10 seed, and they got to climb over OKC, Utah, and Portland. So if
So that's
you
what,
take
like,
it to
even one
them,
loss, one bad, like the pressure was on them. So like the losses for them again are one of those like 2-time multipliers things. Like they lose to a Western Conference team, puts them back even further. So I think obviously LeBron came out and said, whatever, the next 23 games are the most important of my life. La Media killing it. The dude's been at 10 straight finals. It is what it is. But like you have the opportunity there. So yeah, I think they obviously, I think they drop one of those. I'm not gonna say which one. But one of those is gonna be now maybe the LA game for prediction purposes. But 3-1, man. It's time to get the season back on track. Let's do it. It's time.
So I think in a cruel twist of fate, my guess is Gotham ends up being right here, and the game they lose is to the Houston Rockets. That's my guess.
I would say that's
if Gotham is right, that's
how it
my
plays
guess as
out.
to how it goes.
If that's how it plays out, man, I ain't even mad. I'm not even gonna be mad at losing that one. 3-1.
Yeah.
I'm not 3-1.
Yeah, hell yeah. Also want to point out LeBron did hurt his hand in the All-Star game on Sunday. Don't know how serious it was. He seemed to be in good spirits kind of around that time. So hopefully nothing. Hopefully he can be on the court for these 23 most important games of his life. Age 38, who knows? But yeah, I think that's fair, Gotham. I love it, man. The optimism is always appreciated, man. I even feel lighter. I know I've been like Eeyore this whole time today, but I feel pretty good leaving the pod, guys. But Gotham, I'm gonna take your role real quick. What are we plugging today? What's going on, Chuck? Gotham, what's going on, guys?
well, we got the season back in swing as of tomorrow. We'll definitely have some words out at this time next week, based on the developments over these next few games, trying to, game out what the rest of the season looks like, break down some scenarios, the most important games and all that good stuff. But beyond that, you can always catch me at Claytheist11 on Twitter, on the Bird site. And that's about it.
Hey man, check out
Matt?
Switch Theory, check out Chuck stuff, check out GSW Fast Break for Matt's post game reactions. Check out Games Play. That's all I got, man. Just keep following us. Excited to pump out the content for you guys. This last half of the season, or last stretch of the season, is gonna be good, man. We're gonna have a lot of ups and maybe some downs, but at the end of the day, we're still gonna hoist that 5th one, and I have full confidence in that. That's my shout out.
Okay, guys.
Never in doubt.
Matt, anything on the horizon?
I know I am the dead horse. I actually am recapping that Rockets game Saturday night, or Friday night actually. So it'll be up Saturday. So if you notice that the words are written as if by a dyslexic person, it's because the whiskey thing happened and the Warriors lost. So check that out on Saturday morning, most likely. But other than that, no, guys, keep reading Chuck, keep following Gotham, keep following the podcast. We appreciate the increased engagement and all that, guys. So keep it up.
Hey, man, thank you
Matt's,
guys for
Matt's gonna be
everything.
deep in the writer juice, baby.
Oh,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, man, shout out to all you guys for listening. And until the next episode, peace.